読み直している。で読み直している。で読み直している。でキスしたい人。で読み直している。で読み直している。だけがで読み直している。で読み直している。で読み直している。で読み直している。で読み直している。でキスしたい人。で読み直している。で読み直している。だけがで読み直している。で読み直している。
And we are live. Oh, yeah, I got it on. Hey, good morning. First things first. Imported granola 3BCI715 in the chat sent me a link to buy followers and viewers. Hey, get the fuck out of here. We're going to get started not with that kind of attitude. We're not here buying our followers. That's not what we do. We're here to take, well, I don't want to spoil the cover yet. Yeah. Good morning. These bots, man. These bots are ruthless. I got my coffee, got my book. We're ready to go. I was talking to my mom yesterday. She was kicking herself for not showing up for the last podcast with the Jordan Peterson book. Because she had a lot of wisdom to share, a lot of things that I missed. Very important. She said that she could have contributed. So am I. She said, "Why don't you just do the podcast later? Why don't you stream it? Why don't you stream it Sunday night and then post it Monday morning if that's what you want to do?" And I said, "Nope, you're missing the point, because the point of doing it at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning is because this is what we do to start our week off right. We don't sleep in on Mondays. We don't miss the gym on Mondays. We get started early, baby. And sometimes we're slow. This morning I was a little slow. There was a little bit of drama this morning, but we got it. I got to the gym. I still got a good 30 minutes in, and we're back. And I'm showered. Well, not quite. I'm not very clean, but I'm clean. I'm cleaner than I was at the gym. I got my book. I got my coffee. It's going to be a good morning, and it's going to be a great-ass week. It was very cold last week. It's getting very cold. Today it felt great, though. It's like 45 degrees outside, but it's going to get back down to 12. Okay, well, yeah, I just want to say I bought a weighted vest for my workouts because Steezy Lovejoy, a.k.a. Shy Gamer Girl, a.k.a. Breaches Thigh Gap, bought a 60-pound vest, and has been sending some awesome workouts in. So I went and found myself one. I thought it was going to be 60 pounds. Turned out to be 47 pounds. So I'm not quite as gritty as that kid, but 47 pounds is heavy. It's really nice, though. It's one of those that wraps around your front and back, your chest and your back, so it's pretty evenly distributed. I don't feel awkward walking around or doing exercises. But today I did burpees with 47 pounds strapped around my body, and burpees suck anyway, man. Burpees suck anyway. I did a Spartan circuit. I think that's going to be the move for the next maybe 30 days. Is these Spartan workouts. I was doing them to prep for the races, my Spartan races last year, and I was, just body weight, because they're hard enough exercises. But I like the extra challenge with the. I like the challenge. What can I say? I'm going to turn my mic up just a smidge. I think that's a little better. I'm watching the feedback thing. I've also been having issues with my computer getting the playing some certain games because, man, these games they make these days are super intense on your computer. And so I have my task manager up right now telling me how my stream is performing. And yeah, my PC is perfect for streaming my podcast. It's perfect for streaming my podcast. 45% CPU, 32% GPU. I'm multi-streaming. Got a camera, a ton of USB stuff plugged in. No glitches. But when I try to play and stream video games, these newer video games like Battlefield, man, my computer is struggling. So, all right. That's enough chit chat. It's 8:14 a.m. on Monday morning, December 13th. And if you're not listening to this live, come join me live on Monday mornings to get your week started right. You know, I talked about my essay blog entry that I wrote last week. I called it you are what you consistently say, think, and do. And if you want to be successful and hardworking and you want to get shit done and you want to have energy, you need to have a consistent sleep schedule. And for me, that means getting up early every day and exercising first thing in the morning because I have a harder time exercising at night after I'm cleaning carpets for 8 days. And I've talked about all this before, but I'm going to repeat it again because this is why I do the podcast. Being here at 8 a.m. This is my 8 a.m. appointment for Monday, and it's early and it sucks. And who wants to have an 8 a.m. Monday appointment? But guess what, motherfucker? This is what we do because this is how we start our week off right. And if we are consistently here on Mondays, we're gonna consistently consistently have better weeks. If we start our week off with exercise, protein, book, discussion, and coffee, we're going to be in good shape. Someone very wise once told me, never miss a Monday. I could echo that louder. Never miss a Monday. And then it's all about what's his face's book about habits and what's his face's book about the compound effect. I mean, come on. What do you think we're doing here? I'm telling you, I'm not a smart guy. I'm just listening to what these smart people are saying. These people do tons of research and then write books about it. And then I just read the books and talk about them and try to digest them and form my own opinions. I was going to make a joke about Joe Rogan being my own opinion, but I don't know how that would go over with everybody. My friends know that I listen to a lot of Rogan. I think you know that I listen to a lot of Rogan. Anyway, I bring that up because I listened to an episode with him and Jocko Willink recently, and the book was called. I listened to his podcast episode, and then I was like, I'm going to read his book, and his book is what I read: Extreme Ownership: How U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win, by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. These guys are tough motherfuckers. Look at them. Oh, you can't see shit. Yeah. I'm trying to show a picture from the book of them. Two very respectable Navy SEALs. Leif Babin and Jocko Willink served together as U.S. Navy SEAL officers in SEAL Team 3's Task Unit Bruiser through the Battle of Ramadi, some of the toughest sustained urban combat in the history of the SEAL teams. Their task unit remains the most highly decorated special operations unit in the Iraq War. Upon their return, Babin and Willink developed and led Navy SEAL leadership training for SEALs deploying to Iraq and Afghanistan. They now lead a powerful leadership and consulting company, Eklon Front, which teaches others how to build, train, and lead their own high-performance winning teams. Jocko Willink has also written Discipline Equals Freedom and Way of the Warrior Kid, and hosts the number one business podcast, Jocko Podcast. Number one business podcast, huh? I didn't know that. Jocko, well done. I didn't finish my thought, but I was going to say the podcast I'm doing it live, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, on Caden's podcast. If you want to come talk about extreme ownership or whatever books in the future, come tag along, baby. 8 a.m. Mondays. Today's book is Jocko Willink's and Leif Babin's Extreme Ownership. I picked this book as my business book for the week, or for the whatever, my business book. I've been alternating between business and self-help and finance help, and some religious text like Stoicism and Buddhism. So this one's my business one, and it's the book is very well written. They explain in great detail in the intro that they have they took into great consideration what they could and should and can't say. They don't want to expose strategic plans in a book that anybody can buy and read. So they wrote the book and they sent it through the United States checker, whatever. So it's approved for civilian use, pretty much. But yeah, man, the book they include some pictures in here of them running around. So much respect for these guys, for the Navy SEALs, for Jocko and Leif, and then for all of the SEALs and Marines and Army and Air Force that included in these stories and that are serving now. And it's changed my perspective on it's changed my perspective on Army people, soldiers. I have an uncle that's an Army Ranger. He's a badass. But he lives in Florida. I don't see him. Yeah, they talk about their friends that have died. They in their platoon they had, or in their task unit, I don't know how it works. They worked with what was his name? The American Sniper guy that Bradley Cooper played in that movie. I don't remember his name. But these guys worked with him. And other SEALs that they talk a ton about: Mark Lee, Ryan Job, Mike Mansour. Anyway, I want to speak reverently about them and about their sacrifices and their losses. I mean, geez, just tragic stuff. People getting shot in the head in front of them. And one of those three gentlemen I just read sacrificed himself by jumping on top of a grenade to save the rest of the troop. That's shit that they do in the Marvel movie with Captain America when he jumps on the grenade as a little scrawny boy, and they're like, he has courage, and so they pump him with steroids. I mean, someone did this. They're tell stories about a guy that did that in real life. Man, that's so tragic. So anyway, I just want to speak reverently about them and their service and their loss before I talk about all of this. So, thank you. Cool. In the audiobook, they alternate readers, and Jocko and Leif, and geez, they really are some remarkable, strong, gritty people, gritty dudes. So let's get started. The book is broken down into 3 sections of ownership. Oh, I didn't add the book title thing I wanted to do. I could do that live. Should I do that live? It wouldn't be hard. I'm not going to do it. So, I'll read this. The dedication. Dedicated to Mike Lee, Mike Mansour, and Ryan Job, 3 courageous warriors, SEAL teammates, and friends who valiantly wielded their big machine guns on the mean streets of Ramadi and laid down their lives so that others might live. Thank you. All right. The book's broken down into 3 parts. They use, and the way that each chapter is broken down is they tell a war story, which are fantastic. They tell a war story, and then they share the principle from that experience, and then they share the application to business from that principle. So I'll mostly talk about, or really just share the principle and the application to business, because that's all that, it's applicable to me. But the war stories are amazing. It's worth reading the book for. The first part is called Winning the War Within. The second part, Laws of Combat. And the third part, Sustaining Victory. Oh, dude, they did not have an afterword in the audiobook. Or an appendix. With Q&A. That's too bad. I would have loved to have listened to that. All right. So let's get started. Part 1. Winning the War Within. I gotta pull up my notes. Okay. Part 1, Chapter 1 is called Extreme Ownership. This is the whole theme. Obviously, it's the title of the book, but this is the whole theme. So, the book begins with Jocko as telling a story of a blue on blue. And I didn't know what that meant before, and it really just meant friendly fire, friendly combat. There are multiple teams that were operating in Ramadi, Iraq, and there was some miscommunication going on where some SEALs, Army men, got stuck up in a building, and then there were other teams that were trying to clear that building. And so they were on the same team, and they were fighting each other. And one Iraqi soldier ally ended up dying, and several other soldiers getting shot and injured from that combat. But Jocko, he was able to put a stop to it, and he was dumbfounded how it would happen. And as he spent time thinking about that experience, he realized the only person at fault is me. He said, I'm in charge of all of these men, and I'm responsible for all of their failures and all of their successes. And if there was a miscommunication between them, I'm responsible. That I didn't train them well enough to communicate well enough. I'm responsible that they got caught up in this mess. So he says he could have blamed all of them for their miscommunication. He could have blamed them for their bad planning or whatever. But he says to win the war within, or to be the leader to whatever, you need to take extreme ownership, which means everything that happens underneath your control is your responsibility. So the principle, all responsibility for success and failure rests on the leader. There is no one else to blame. If underperformers cannot improve, the leader must put the objective and team above any individual. Getting people to listen, support, and execute plans is the direct responsibility of a leader. So that's the theme of this book. There's the leader, and then there's the highest your highest commander. Then you have sub leaders, junior leaders underneath that leader, and the overall leader is responsible for everyone, and then every junior leader is responsible for all of those people below them, all the way down to the most junior among them. And then if you don't have anyone to take care of, then you're responsible for yourself. So, extreme ownership. You accept your failures, you accept your defeats, you also accept your successes where you went right, and you replicate them or duplicate them. Same thing, right? Chapter 2, no bad teams, only bad leaders. Same idea, same concept. That's the principle. Leaders must enforce consequences for poor performers. When your team struggles, good leaders don't make excuses, they make solutions. When it comes to, here's a quote from whoever read this chapter. It was either Jocko or Leif. I'll just say, here's a quote from the authors. When it comes to performance standards, it's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. Yep. And I think these points might be obvious to business, right? To your business application. In the first chapter, the all responsibility for success and failure rests on the leader. It rests on your boss. Yeah, so your boss is responsible for everyone that, like, if you work at a McDonald's, then your McDonald's manager is responsible for that McDonald's. But whoever that McDonald's franchise owner's boss is, that boss is also responsible for that franchise and several other franchises. And then whoever's in charge of that franchise manager, maybe like some area district manager. You see what I'm saying? The tiers of leadership. You are responsible for yourself and your subgroup. And he talks about how you're supposed to work with and lead your leaders. But the point is, you're responsible for yourself, your actions, and your team below you. So in business, if you own a McDonald's, or if as a carpet cleaner, whatever your business is, you are responsible for the success and the failure of your team, yourself and your team. And chapter 2 is, there's no bad teams, only bad leaders. So when it comes, I love this quote. When it comes to performance standards, it's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. So if you tolerate, like, customer service, if you tolerate a 6 out of 10 customer satisfaction rating, that's what you'll get. But if you don't tolerate it and you constantly seek to improve to get that up to an 8 or 9 or a 10, that's what it'll come to. And it's not about what you say, it's not what you preach. You don't just say or write on a board, our customer service standard is 10 out of 10. And then just go let your customer service team, go do whatever they're doing, and they get a 6 out of 10. It's not what you say, it's what you tolerate. So if your team is underperforming, it's your responsibility as a leader to correct them. And the weakest links among them that will not improve, need to be cut off. But it's your responsibility to continue to guide and teach and instruct your team as a leader. Chapter 3, believe. In order to lead anyone into a mission, the leader must be a true believer of the mission. Hold on, let me get some coffee. Oh, God, that's so good. Leaders must know why something is done and relate that clearly to their team. If a team or a junior leader doesn't understand why the leader is responsible, those people, the team or the junior leaders, are responsible for asking their superiors. So I've thought about this too. This whole chapter makes me think about my mission. My mission and summer sales and just pretty much every job I've had, or any hard thing I've ever done. By the way, my knuckles bleeding from today. I did these lateral ape crawls, and I put my fist down on that artificial turf. Jesus, hurts so bad with the 50-pound vest. So anyway, back to the subject. I think about these tough experiences that I've got, like my mission and summer sales, and a lot of it's really just life in general. Why your parents say or instruct you to do certain things, or a lot of life comes from believing in what you're being taught. And that sounds religious, but it is true. If you work for, let's go back to McDonald's. McDonald's is going to be our example for the day. If you work at a McDonald's and the higher ups send out an email and say, okay, well, we're going to get rid of Big Macs, and you have no why, and you're like, what? That's McDonald's. Or let's say they're going to say, we're going to add McDonald's. We're going to keep the Big Macs, but we're going to add, I don't know, lobster tail to our menu. And you're like, this is a McDonald's, sir. So if the leaders do not convey why well enough, and you don't understand or you don't believe, then it's your responsibility to seek out the reason. And really, you shouldn't follow blindly. They talk about later on. They'll talk about you have to trust your leaders you have to trust your leaders because you might not have the whole picture. Like the higher ups at McDonald's have this vision for where McDonald's is supposed to go, and you are only a fry cook there, and you don't see the whole picture. So you don't know why they're adding lobster tail to the menu, and you don't want to make lobster tail. You barely like making the fries, so you don't want to add something else, especially something that doesn't make any sense. But the point is, McDonald's the higher ups at McDonald's, and in any business and in any organization, have a mission objective that how they refer it, or what they talk about. Every business has an objective, or a good business should have an objective that they're trying to accomplish. So many sales, so many customers, repeat customers, whatever, and this much product sold, and they have a direction that they're trying to go. So for some reason, McDonald's higher ups say, we're going to try selling lobster tail. Well, it's your responsibility to believe in or to understand why the higher ups would put something out like that. And then I think they don't really talk about this, but what I think about is you will support and go through with a decision like that doesn't make any sense if you believe in the cause, if you believe in the why of the business. Yeah, that's what chapter 3 is all about. Oh, shoot. Hold on. I lost it. Leaders must know why something is done and relate that clearly to their team. If a team or junior leader does not understand why, then they are responsible for asking their superiors. Hey, good morning, mashed potatoes. Hey, this is what we're doing this week. I didn't put the title up on top of the podcast, which I should do that because then I don't have to do this for everyone that shows up. Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. But I'm happy to do it for you. So I'm on chapter 3. That's believe. Believe in your why and or understand why. And sometimes, like as a missionary, if you're told you can't wear backpacks when you're a missionary, you have to wear shoulder strap bags, and you think that's the dumbest rule ever. That was me. But you don't understand why. Well, you got to think. Do my mission leaders and does the church, do they want me to suffer as a missionary? Like, do they just want to make my life hard for no reason? No, they're doing it for a reason, and I'd never understood why. I still don't understand why. I think it had something to do with the bulkiness of the bag. It showed that something about having conveyed that you had valuables, were a higher chance of being robbed or something like that. But now missionaries have cell phones, so I don't know. I don't fucking know. And not just cell phones, but they have when I was there, a companionship of 2 had 1 cell phone. But now each missionary has their own cell phone. And it's not just a Nokia, it's a smartphone. They have smartphones now. So I don't know. But the point is, your leaders, your superiors are going to implement rules and changes to systems because they have a goal, they have a mission objective, and you have to understand why these changes are being made if you want to execute them effectively. That's chapter 3. Chapter 4, check the ego. Ego clouds and disrupts the planning process. Ability to take good advice and the ability to take good criticism, which I guess are the same thing. Why did I say that twice? When your team makes a mistake, taking extreme ownership eliminates the clash of egos. Again, you are responsible for every decision your team makes as the leader. Check your ego. Yeah, these all play a part. ultimately you are responsible for the success and the failure of yourself and your team, and it's your responsibility to understand the mission and to be humble about it. Check your ego. That's part 1, winning the war within. Part 2, the laws of combat. Chapter 5, cover and move. The principle, teamwork. They tell another story of, Leif tells a story of him moving through a really sketchy part of Ramadi, and they he didn't effectively use all of the team members in the area, all of the army people in the area, to protect themselves as they moved. And they moved successfully and uninjured, but his leader said his superior was critical of how he maneuvered through the city because he didn't utilize all of the assistance available. So, that was the lesson he learned. Teamwork. Your team has one mission and must understand the strategic objective to accomplish the mission. If a team member fails, the team fails, and vice versa. If a team member succeeds, the team succeeds. Quote from the author: make them a part of your team, not an excuse for your team. The weakest link. Pretty similar to earlier, but the laws of combat. Use your team in business. In business, your coworkers, you're all on the same team. And you have one objective. And I'm thinking about my girlfriend who's a nurse, who's becoming a nurse and has a really tough schedule, tough job. Jesus, being a nurse, not easy. And so it's there's been some incidences where I think a fact right now across the nation is most hospitals are understaffed. At least these hospitals around here, with my girlfriend and my buddy who are nurses, and all of their nursing friends talk about how everything's kind of chaotic because they're understaffed. So that's an issue in itself. But when they talk about issues that they experience with their bosses, with the scheduling and with coworkers, it seems like the bosses are out to get you. But really, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. These guys, they're your superiors. Everyone's trying to accomplish the strategic objective, to finish the mission. And in nursing, you as a nurse are executing whatever you've got to do to keep patients alive for your 12-hour shift, to save lives, to do really important stuff. And you may not understand why you were scheduled one less technician for the night, or why you were scheduled 3 extra technicians, or why a lot of crap happens. And it's not that straightforward. I understand. I know I have a inkling that there's, just in like any other business, there's a lot of corporate greed, right? And it's not all peaches and cream. It can be, there's selfishness. I think there's always selfishness in big businesses. And I don't know if I've ever talked about my philosophy with healthcare and government subsidies and things like that. I think, not an original idea, but as I've learned, so annoying. I'm trying to be original, have original thoughts, but everything I've ever thought of there's a book about it already somewhere or a podcast. So besides the shadiness of people, or the ineffectiveness sometimes, everyone in your business is a team, should be a team. They're all working towards one objective. And as a nurse, you're trying to keep people alive, trying to keep a hospital open and available for anyone who needs it. As for McDonald's, you just want to give them the meat, baby. You want to give them that sweet goodness. That's their objective. What did the Coke CEO say? I want to put as much coke into people as possible. Something really weird like that. 'Cause our goal is to get as much coke inside of you as possible. Something like that. And you know what? That's a mission objective that I don't agree with. I won't support that. That's like being an army soldier and then reading the Taliban, the Taliban mission objective, and you're like, I'm not going to stand for that. But hey, if you believe in pumping people full of sugar and aspartame and that stuff, that's a good business to be behind. I want to be behind a mission objective that supports health and well-being. Bam! There you go. So understand why. Understand what you believe and support those businesses and corporations that are doing that. As I hold coffee. Coffee's not terrible. I use a Keurig. I know it's not it's not a sustainable form of coffee, but it's very convenient, and that's the issue that we face. Just like I explained, just like I talked about with the furniture I bought from Wayfair not too long ago. I love I bought my girlfriend a vanity makeup desk. It was an early Christmas present, and there was one available on Pottery Barn or Crate and Barrel or something. It's one of those websites. It was like $1,600, $1,500, and it was being sold. It was touted as sustainable resources, fair trade workers, handcrafted, which is what I support. And then I sent it to my mom, and she said, "Whoa, Nelly, that's ridiculous." And because it was $1,600 is very expensive. And I found the exact same makeup vanity on Wayfair for like $250. And all you had to do was assemble it yourself. But it didn't come with any slave children like people believe Wayfair does. It just came with the parts all broken down, probably made from a factory, not handcrafted materials, and then I just put it together, and it looks great, feels great. It's solid wood, but it was not handcrafted. I have bought I bought a few really expensive pieces of furniture, but one in particular I bought a record player set table, like a turntable set. I can't remember what you called it. What he called it. By Tactile Audio in Colorado. This guy just made a beautiful stand for my turntable, speaker, and my vinyls. And it's legit. It's really heavy, and it's solid wood, smells good, looks great, and it was very expensive. But that was, it's a difficult system to balance because we want a bunch of awesome, fun stuff, and we want it really cheap. We want awesome stuff, but we don't want to pay the premium for it, which means we'll pay for slave labor, or we'll pay for machines to make stuff for us. Mashed potatoes. Spending a lot of time on Pottery Barn's website, eh? Dude, they've got great stuff. They got good furniture, and yeah, they sell things. They sell things that are touted as sustainable and fair trade. And I believe in sustainable and fair trade, and I don't want to support slave labor or harsh working conditions for anybody. Just fairly compensated adults and sustainably resourced. That's one thing that the Weinstein and Heather Hang book, Hunter Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century. There's got to be a shorter name to reference that book. The Hunter Gatherer book. They talk about one of the biggest crimes humanity has imposed on Mother Nature is its transfer of resources, moving a mass amount of resources to unnatural habitats, and it's pretty much doing the same thing. And they talk about how when you support like small batch creations, pieces of furniture, you are usually supporting. Like if you only buy fruit that's in season, vegetables that are in season, you're supporting a sustainable system. But when you're buying raspberries in December or blueberries in December. Like I just bought some blueberries the other day. You're supporting like this factory farmed fruit and berries. It's just it's just forced agriculture. I don't know. I find that it's almost always worth it to pay a little more for nicer thing. Lasts longer, looks and works better. 100% agree. Yeah, 100% agree. But my issue is I don't know how much better that that makeup vanity would be. I don't know how much better the $1,600 makeup vanity would have been compared to this. Maybe my conscience would be cleared, but my bank account would also be cleared, and I'd be left with the same product. That's what's tricky. And maybe maybe I don't have the right picture, and machines cutting pieces of wood and shipping them in boxes to me for a really, really cheap price to put together myself isn't such a harsh thing for the environment, or I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's not such a problem anyway, but maybe it is. It doesn't. It just. Yeah, anyway. I just want to support the right thing. That's all we can do. That's all anyone can do. I'm playing with my coaster. I play with shit while I'm doing the podcast all the time. Let me get back to the book, huh? Come on, Caden. I don't even know how I got off on that tangent. That was chapter 5. Teamwork. Make the weakest link a part of your team, not an excuse for your team. Yeah, that had nothing to do with what I was just saying, but that's a good point. Chapter 6, simple. Simplify plans and orders as much as possible to increase chances for success, and it reduces variables. If a plan does not make sense to the lowest common denominator of the team, the plan is not simple enough. Yep, everyone in the team should understand the plan, and it should be so simple and comprehensive that, or I guess maybe those are antonyms to each other, right? But simple and clear enough that the lowest common denominator understands the plan clearly. And again, just like earlier, if someone on the team does not understand the plan, it is first the leader's fault for not making the plan clear enough, and then it's second the team member's fault for not asking for clarity or for help. This is all about extreme ownership. Extreme ownership. So keep plans simple. Again, this is part 2, the laws of combat. Chapter 7, prioritize and execute. Oh, tons of cool stories. Tons of fascinating stories. Under high stress, SEALs incorporate relax, look around, make a call. Prioritize your options and execute them in order. Leif tells a story about chasing a guy. They were doing some mission. They were either capturing somebody or trying to rescue a hostage. Anyway, Leif and one guy. Okay, Leif and his team. They captured a building and noticed that a guy had run out somewhere. And Leif and one other guy left the team to chase this guy. Ended up catching him, and when they caught him, Leif realized we're alone. We're not covered by our team. We're surrounded by a bunch of buildings in a place that we were not familiar with. We could be surrounded by a bunch of enemies for all we know. So Leif also said, well, and we don't know if this guy that we chased had bombs strapped to him, and just tons of crazy scenarios. And then all of a sudden he notices with his night vision goggles a bunch of Mooj. This is the enemy group that they're fighting, the Mooj, come around a corner with RPGs and AK-47s. And Leif says, I had to, under high stress, they're taught, relax, look around, make a call, prioritize and execute. And he says he had to take out his priority was to secure himself and his teammate, and it was not to detain this hostage. It was to survive, pretty much. So he said the first thing they did was shot the guy with the RPG, and put a few more rounds down, range to scare off the rest of the group. Those guys retreated. And then it was to check the guy for bombs, whatever. How fucking crazy. So, anyway, now let's talk about business. Like, what's important? What's important after hearing stories like this about what these people are doing? And you know what? Jocko and Leif are so in tune with business and with war that they say these are really crazy examples, and they only happen in war experiences like this. And they say that people experience similar stress in life through business and family, because when you own a business or when you're a leader of a team, you experience these high stress because people's lives and livelihood are at stake. It's not always your life. When you're an army person, your life is almost always at stake, and you have to make good calls under high stress to stay alive. And they say business people have to make good calls under high stress to succeed in business, and for the sake of them and for the sake of their team. So that's why they say these principles translate. So I think it seems silly to compare business life with army life with these Navy SEALs, but that was the objective of the book, and they do a really good job of correlating these experiences. So the chapter 7, prioritize and execute. Keep your mission and strategic objective in mind at all times. Avoid target fixation. Be adaptive and flexible when reprioritization is necessary. Leaders must evaluate highest priority problems, lay them out clearly and concisely in the highest priority effort for your team. Develop and determine the solution, direct the execution of that solution towards that priority task, and move on to the next highest priority problem. I should say the next highest priority. I said priority twice. So yeah, under high stress situations, relax, look around, and make a call. But when you have time to plan and prioritize, and you're not under immediate high stress or have to immediately make a call, those 5 principles are important for prioritizing and executing. Chapter 8, decentralize command. Decentralize means to transfer to several smaller offices or groups rather than one large one. So, the principle: teams must be broken down into 4 or 5 operators for maximum efficiency. Leading more than this has decreased effectiveness. Junior leaders must have mission and strategic objective in mind in their decisions congruent with their senior leaders. They're telling stories like if I understood it correct, Jocko was the senior commander to Leif. So Jocko was the leader to several junior leaders who had teams of 4 or 5 SEALs, who executed missions. So Jocko wasn't a junior leader; he was one of the higher leaders in this battle for Ramadi, and Leif was a junior leader to Jocko, but had his own team of SEALs that executed operations. So, but yeah, that's part of the principle. Effective teams or effective strategy has a decentralized command. I mean, imagine having. Okay, so Jocko probably had, if he was one leader and he had 4 or 5 junior leaders, and those junior leaders had 4 teams of 4 or 5. There were probably 30 people that Jocko was looking after. There were 30 people total under Jocko's command, but Jocko was working directly with 4 or 5 SEALs, those junior leaders. And anyway, the point is, imagine all those 30 people having one boss, and it was the president, and the president just dictated how all operations went, right? It doesn't make sense. So the point is, teams of 4 or 5 produces maximum efficiency. So as a carpet cleaner, I would guess that me being the boss of 4 or 5 carpet cleaning teams or 4 or 5 vans would be the most efficient. And McDonald's franchise district managers would maximize their efficiency by managing 4 or 5 franchises. Huh? Is that it? That's the point. That was part 2, the laws of combat. The final part 3, sustaining victory. Chapter 9, plan. Now I'm playing with my chapstick, and I got to stop playing with stuff while I'm talking. Let me finish this coffee. Chapter 9, plan. Plans begin with a defined mission objective. Then a clear team directive must be conveyed. Everyone must understand their role and follow through. Yeah, planning starts with understanding the mission objective, what you're trying to accomplish as a business, and what the overall objective is for the business, for the whatever, wherever you're at in your leadership and as a team. A leader checklist for planning. That's a long list. Analyze the mission. Identify your own commander's intent. Identify personnel, resources, assets, and time available. Decentralize the planning process. Determine specific courses of action. Plan for likely contingencies. Mitigate risks. That probably was a subsection for likely contingencies. Delegate portions of the plan. Continually check the system. Brief to all participants and emphasize your intent, and conduct post-op debrief. Don't get bogged down by the details. Focus on the bigger picture. That's planning. Chapter 10, leading up and down the chain of command. This is what I was referring to earlier. It is paramount for a junior leader or a tactical operator to understand how their role makes a difference, the why of what they're doing. So we've been most of what we've been talking about already is leading down the chain of command, leading your team, your subservience. It's kind of derogatory, but that's true. Now, leading up the chain of command takes a different approach. If your leaders have questions, then you are not relaying all the critical info to them that they need. Extreme ownership means give your leaders what they need to lead them through your task. Quote from the authors: one of the most important jobs of a leader is to support their boss. Beautiful. Don't ask your leader what you should do. Tell them what you are going to do. So take, leading up the chain of command means if your boss is asking tons of questions or doesn't understand why you're doing what you're doing, then it's time for you to lead up the chain of command. And they give examples where they invite senior leaders to join them in operations who are critical of their decision making. And they tell a story of a guy, one of their senior leaders, who wanted to execute a certain kind of mission, and Jocko said, "This is extremely dangerous. It's going to lead to several casualties. We can't prepare enough for a mission like that." And the commander, their senior leader, hasn't been in the field like Jocko and Leif had been. So they said, "Come out with us, and we'll show you what we mean." And he comes out, and he still is advocating for this really big mission. And Jocko says, "Let's start small, and I'll show you what I'm talking about." And they do a small operation that ended in several injuries. It was just a fraction the size of the operation, and it left that senior leader humbled, but also a lot more aware of the situation. So that's an example of leading up the command, giving your superiors all the critical information that they need to understand what's happening. And again, if they're passing on information that doesn't make sense or that might be incongruent with what you're currently doing, your current operations, the communication between your junior lead, you as a junior leader, and to them as a senior leader is paramount for the success of that mission. I'll say it one more time. It is paramount for a junior leader or a tactical operator to understand how their role makes a difference, to understand the why of what they are doing. That's chapter 10. Chapter 11, decisiveness amid uncertainty. Excuse me. Leaders should be confident making quick decisions, using all available resources. Similar to relax, look around, make a call. Decision making should be aggressive and proactive, never passive. Yeah, good leaders are decisive amidst uncertainty, and I think they're experienced enough that they make good calls. They make good judgments. Yeah, and like I said, they've been saying, you make bad calls sometimes. You make mistakes, and the whole point is accepting ownership, taking extreme ownership when you make mistakes, owning that, and admitting to it, and then being willing to change and humble enough to change. Their decisiveness amid uncertainty. Leif tells a story working with that American sniper. I gotta Google his name. It's killing me that I can't remember what his name is. American sniper. Chris Kyle. He was sitting on a roof with Chris Kyle, who was looking down his sniper barrel scope, and there was he's identified a target in a building, or he saw a person in a building with a rifle, and said, I saw something in this building, in this window. I'm not sure if it was an enemy or not. And Leif radios one of the Marines that were working in that operation and says, do you have any guys in this building? They have all of the buildings numbered on a map. And he says, do you have any guys in this building where we saw the sniper, or where we saw this enemy with a gun? And the Marine guy says, no friendlies in that building. Take the shot. And Leif says to Chris Kyle, can you positively identify the target as an enemy? And he says, I cannot positively identify the target as an enemy. And Leif says, we're not going to take the shot. We can't identify the target as an enemy. And the Marine guy gets frustrated with Leif because the Marines had people on the ground. Chris was being Overwatch support for the soldiers on the ground. So, but he says, we're not going to take the shot. We don't know who that is. We can't positively. There was a reference for, I think it's called PID. Positively identify the target or something like that. And anyway, Leif recommends that the Marines go clear that building so they could secure the area. And the Marine says, take the shot, kill the guy, shoot the guy, whatever. But Chris Kyle and Leif say, negative, we can't positively identify. Anyway, the long story short, the Marines end up going into the building and finding that it was occupied by other friendlies. And the guy that Chris Kyle had seen was a friendly Marine or Army soldier with another gun. And Leif says, if he, it's just you had to be decisive in a moment like that, where if you're gonna decide to make such a big decision to end someone's life, you got to be positive that person on the other side of the gun is a bad guy. And you know what? Application to business. When you make big calls, when you have to make big calls, or you have to make big fast decisions, it's important to be decisive. And just like I said, leaders should be confident making quick decisions and using all available resources. They should be aggressive and proactive and never passive. No lazy decision making. Chapter 12, discipline equals freedom. This part of the book is beautiful. I want to read a little bit of it. First, Jocko reads this chapter, and if you follow Jocko on the internet, on Instagram, that guy he takes a picture of his watch waking up at 4:30 a.m. every day, and he hits the gym. He takes a picture of his watch and his exercise, all the sweat from his exercise. That guy does not stop. And he explains that discipline is what sets you free. You think you're free when you can just do whatever you want, but there's an interesting dichotomy between discipline and freedom, where discipline, doing the things that you don't want to do, is what gives you freedom. It's the weird balance and relationship with freedom and discipline. Exercising discipline the moment your alarm clock goes off sets the tone and the pace for the rest of your day. And you know what? I hit snooze a couple of times this morning. I'm not gonna lie, my alarm went off at 5:30, and I ended up getting out of bed at 6, and it made me late for my workout. And there was other stuff that I was handling, but you know what? If I would have gotten up on time, I would have gotten all of the time at the gym that I wanted. Exercising discipline the moment your alarm clock goes off sets the tone and the pace for the rest of your day. Discipline is paramount to ultimate success and victory at any level. So, especially if you are determined or driven to be successful or to accomplish something, it's the only way you can be successful or accomplish anything is with discipline. Success rarely is handed to you, and if it's ever handed to you, it's usually as inheritance, and then even how you handle your inheritance is up to you. I remember someone saying that it was they said, well, people are critical of Donald Trump for being so rich because of his inheritance, but he still had to do something with his inheritance to make money that he did, right? That's just my opinion. And I know it might be a hot topic with Trump because of who he is, but the point is, you can be handed success, you can be handed money and a comfortable life, but freedom and success and victory comes through discipline. And Jocko says the only way that you can overcome your adversary is by facing it. So maybe he didn't even say that. Maybe I just came up with that. But that's the whole point. Discipline equals freedom. Discipline equals freedom. Okay. There's a part at the end of the last chapter where he talks about the dichotomy of leadership, and I think this is the beautiful balance between being an excellent leader, but still humble enough to grow, and to for your whole team, for you to succeed and for your team to succeed. A good leader must be confident but not cocky, courageous but not foolhardy, competitive but a gracious loser, attentive to details but not obsessed by them, strong but have endurance. A leader and follower, humble, not passive, aggressive, not overbearing, quiet, not silent, calm, but not robotic, logical, but not devoid of emotions, close with the troops, but not so close that one becomes more important than another, or more important than the good of the team, not so close that they forget who is in charge, and able to execute extreme ownership while exercising decentralized command. A good leader has nothing to prove, but everything to prove. Yes. Jocko, killing it. I love it. Yeah, I want to reread this. I love this. I love the idea of discipline. I try to be disciplined, and I think I'm more disciplined now than I have been, but I know I have such a long way to go. Discipline really, it just requires life to suck sometimes. It just sucks sometimes. And even Jocko says that. He says, I watched a video of him. Someone asked him, how does it feel waking up at 4:30 every morning? And he says, dude, it sucks. it sucks to wake up because you're tired or you had a late night before or you have a lot to do that morning and maybe you didn't get enough sleep or maybe you're kind of sick or whatever. And he says, dude, it sucks sometimes. But he says, you know what? You get up. You get up anyway because that's what it takes to succeed and to overcome your adversary. You get up. You stay disciplined and you stay fucking hard. Just like David Goggins says. I love the story of him. He as an ultra marathon runner now, he runs dozens of miles a day and lifts and trains and is just a tough, gritty motherfucker. And he says sometimes I sit down and I'm looking at my running shoes and I don't want to put those motherfuckers on. And he says he just sits and stares at them and he hears the shoes talking back, calling him a pussy. And he doesn't want to put the shoes on, but he does. He puts the shoes on and he goes out and runs. And that's just discipline. You do hard shit anyway. And the last thought on discipline. There an episode of Joe Rogan and Mike Tyson, the most recent one. Mike Tyson says, discipline is doing what you hate to do, but doing it like you love it. Doing what you hate to do, but doing it like you love it. That's why these guys are so successful. That's what success and victory comes down to. It comes down to discipline. And I had a moment the other day. You know what? I'm gonna make a blog or something because I just write more shit. If you can't get enough of my podcast, I'm gonna make a blog so you can read more shit. I was doing yoga on. We go from talking about Navy SEALs to yoga. Man, I'm a pussy. I was in yoga on Saturday or Sunday, yesterday. And I was, we did the hard ass yoga workout or flow. And I lay down in my meditation and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about the night before, Saturday night, I had a ton of friends over here. We watched the UFC fight card 269, which was amazing. We tried to play some card games, but everyone ended up just getting blackout drunk, except for me and a couple of us. But everyone got really, really hammered, and we had a good-ass time. It was a good-ass time. But the fights ended around 11. I was tired. Kayla had to work at 5:30 in the morning. So I sent her off to bed, and I didn't have to. I wanted to host the party, but I wanted to go to bed. Anyway, I went to yoga the next day, my house destroyed, and I was thinking I could have just gone to bed, or I could have told people to leave, and or I could have just set the precedence before inviting everyone over and said I want everyone out of the house after the fight because I have shit to do. I have shit that I need to do. And the shit that I have to do is not very extreme. It's my routine. It's my writing. It's my exercise. And I do it early in the day because of what I said at the beginning of the podcast. And so I'm laying in the hot yoga studio thinking about thinking about the night before. And I'm laying there and I'm thinking, man, it is low. There is good company in complacency. There is a lot of company in complacency. And it is very lonely at the top. These guys, there are only, how many Navy SEALs are there? That's a really elite group of people. It's ultra marathon runners. That's a very elite group of people. And then it goes the same way with monks, with really disciplined Buddhists and yogis, whatever, Stoics. Just it is very, very lonely on the extreme side of your discipline. And where are you disciplined? Are you complacent? And are you a 50-50? I've always been like a 50-50 guy. I was laying there in that yoga room and I was like, it is lonely. It is lonely at the top. I mean, again, not an original thought. But it comes to my mind while I'm laying there, and I'm laying there. Probably 15 minutes go by, and I wake up I come out of my meditation, and I'm the only one in the studio. Everyone left because it takes discipline to lay there in the hot the hot yoga room after you sweat your butt off, and to lay there in your misery. It takes discipline to put on your running shoes when it's raining and to run 15 miles. It takes discipline to wake up at 4:30 every day and get a workout in before your day starts. It takes discipline, man. It takes discipline. It takes discipline for me to go to bed at 8 o'clock when all my friends are getting on to play video games at 9:30 that night. It takes discipline to turn down fun stuff for your objective. And what is your objective? What are you trying to accomplish? What is your why? Why do you go to bed at 8 o'clock? Or why do you put your running shoe? Why do I want to kick my friends out at 11? Well, there's shit I want to do. There's someone I want to become. There's things I want to accomplish. There's a place in life that I have to get to. I have to get to a certain place in life, and it is not handed to you. It is not guaranteed. The most rewarding things in life come through discipline, and I think that's a fact. So it takes discipline, and that kind of freedom when you accomplish your goals, and you become victorious in whatever field or discipline you're in, you become free. That's where freedom comes. It does not come from complacency. It does not come from inheritance. Nothing is handed down. You could be given opportunities, but you still have to do something with the opportunity. That's what it is. You're not given success. You may be given comforts, but you're not given success. You're not given success. What do you think? How did that sound? Man, I went off. I popped off there at the end. That's all I got to say. Discipline equals freedom. This book was awesome. And it was so incredibly humbling to hear tragic stories of loss and sweet stories of success from Navy SEALs in one of the most, what they described as the most intense urban form of combat the SEALs teams have ever faced. It's very humbling to read their experience and then to compare my life to where they're at. You were in your bag just now. Yeah, I don't know if mashed potatoes. I just don't know if I get that reference in the bag. You said it's a basketball term, so I don't. But I appreciate it. I was in my bag. Yeah, man. That's why we do this podcast. We come out here because we're disciplined. We get here at 8 a.m. because it's not because it's easy or it's convenient. We get here because this is where I need to be to set my mind right, to get ready for my week, to get shit done. I got to be here. I can't miss it. I can't stay up late. I have to go to bed, and I have to get up to do this. I have to get my exercise in before I do this. It's the only way it gets done. So thanks for showing up. I've had 2 viewers, and only one person has ever talked. But I appreciate you for showing up, whoever's listening. And I don't ever expect anyone to show up in the live. I don't even expect anyone to listen to the podcast after it's posted, because you are in control of your life. And if you choose to be I talk about complacency like it's a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing. Everyone has the ability to choose how they want to live their lives. And like I said, with my friends playing the video, I say this because Mashed Potatoes is one of those kids that plays video games late into the wee hours of the morning sometimes. But you accomplish things in other ways. You take care of your family, you take care of yourself. You're not late to your job. Maybe you go take naps in your car during lunch, but you're always at your job. You don't call in because you're tired. You're still disciplined that way. I don't mean to say that complacency or doing other things is bad, but for me, it's bad. For me, it's staying up late is bad because I have other things that I want to do. My accomplishments come in different ways. I don't have a family, and I don't have my career is a different path than what you're going through. So everyone looks at life differently. So I guess the point is, do you know what you're trying to accomplish, or are you just floating by in life, letting things come and go and not taking responsibility when things suck or when things are good? Do you take responsibility when things are good, but not when things are bad? Because I think that's irresponsible. When things suck and when you make mistakes, you take responsibility. Because that's the only way you could take responsibility when things go right or when things go well. So I hope my boss isn't listening to. Dude, I took it's okay. It's your lunchtime, right? Wink, wink. Yeah. Just like go do hard shit. Just be driven. Driven people are the most attractive people. People that have goals and things that they want to accomplish are the ones that have the most, or they're in an elite group. But there's not a lot of them. There's not, like, my point about my friends coming out to. There's a lot of people that like to stay up and party. I mean, the bars are filled every weekend. But there's not a lot of people in bed at 9 p.m. on Saturday night or Friday night. There's not a lot of people that are getting up at 6 a.m. on Saturday. But there are people. And I admire those people. I respect them. But I also loved staying up till 2:30 playing Halo with my friends. That was a really fun social thing. I forfeited some of my goals, or my how would you describe it? I forfeited some of my behavior towards my goal to have a good time. And I don't regret it at all. But I did. I mean, that's just the truth. I forfeited some of my effort towards my goals for a good time. And maybe sometimes you got to do that. And it was worth it. I guess I'll just say that, well, I don't have anything else to say. I gotta end this podcast at 1 hour because I can't post this episode until Wednesday now, because I've gone over an hour on the other episodes, and my hosting account doesn't renew until Wednesday, where I can post more out. I only had like 20 minutes of episode that I could post for this week, and it renews. I get 4 or 5 hours on Wednesday. Isn't it okay to take a break from goals so that you have more energy to accomplish them? Yeah. But I don't think Cameron Haynes or David Goggins feel that way. I don't think Jocko's up at 4:30 every day no matter what. Cameron Haynes, he's shooting his bow no matter what. And David Goggins is running no matter what. Mike Tyson is training on the bag no matter what. Mashed potatoes. Like, my biggest goal is to be the best dad/husband possible, but taking breaks and playing games with friends refreshes me and helps me accomplish my goal. Well, yeah, well, that's your goal. That's your goal. And I don't even think taking the time, like, okay, I think what you're saying, where that becomes inappropriate, is where you're forfeiting your responsibility as a dad and a husband to play video games. But you don't forfeit the other. That's why you play video games until you get online at 10 p.m. and play till midnight or till 1 or whatever. But then you're always up at 6 to be responsible to your family. You're up at 6 a.m. and you're with your family after work until 9 p.m. until everyone's in bed, because that's your priority. That you're not forfeiting your goal. You just have hobbies that you enjoy after hours. My goal is to be active every day, to train for these Spartan races, and to be spiritually in tune and to write every day. And I'll tell you what, I woke up at 7 a.m. on last Friday, to do that, to go exercise and to write. And Hudge came downstairs from work and said, let's play Call of Duty. And from 8 a.m., I played video games until 2:30 a.m. with a few breaks. But I didn't go to the gym. I didn't write. I didn't meditate. I didn't clean the house. I didn't do anything. I forfeited my goal. So, like, if your family needed you for dinner and you said, I'm not coming to dinner, I'm going to play video games, you're forfeiting your goals. What your responsibilities. So, no, I don't think I think you're just incorporating your hobbies when you can, and you're forfeiting your sleep for your hobby. It's just priority. I think you've got your priorities figured out. Yeah, I'm just reinforcing your habits to stay up late and play video games because I don't think you're doing it irresponsibly. As long as your family approves of it and that's your main priority, then you're good. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, and yeah, I don't hate myself, but I just have a really like I get into my head about shit like that. Like I was disappointed in myself when I went to bed that Friday night, Saturday morning. But I'm over it. You know, I exercised hard on Friday and Saturday, and read and wrote and meditated. So I was back on track. I just gave up a day to play video games, and I'm single and I can afford it. Like I didn't lose relationships or status in my relationships because of it. So it wasn't the end of the world. I just beat myself up over it sometimes, and my mom tells me that I shouldn't, and she's probably right. But I love it, man. I love playing video games. I just wish part of my goal, like I've said, the place in life that I have to get to is where I have more time to do shit like that, where I have the time, the ability to play video games and get up in the morning, or to hang out with friends and get up in the morning and exercise. And still, ideally, let's just start partying at 5. Just get blackout drunk at 5 and be in bed at 9. I mean, why does everyone have to start drinking at 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. and then go till 4 a.m.? Why do we have to do that? Let's just start at 4 p.m. Let's start after work. Come over after work at 5:30 and let's just start then. And then we could go to bed at 10. I mean, why do we have to wait so late? Why do we have to go so late in the night? Getting a full night's rest is a priority for me because I know I have energy and ability to operate for the whole next day, and I can get up and accomplish a whole bunch of shit. But if I want to give up my evening to drinking, I don't care. I just don't want to give up my night. I don't want to give up my sleep for it, or to video games. Like if we want to game, let's game right after work, or let's game before 9. That's where I'm at. That's it. I just need 8 hours of sleep. I can't get around it. I can't get around it. I feel like shit if I don't, and I hate feeling like shit. So, that's it. That's all I'm going to say. Extreme Ownership. Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. Excellent read. If you want incredible stories of war and application to life and business, experiences that apply to life and businesses, read the book. And read Jocko's other books. I didn't know he had other awesome books. So, and his podcast, Jocko Podcast, #1 in business. The podcast is going to go live on Wednesday, like I said, because of my time constraints. Oh, it feels good. So you'll catch it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts on Wednesday, but it's on YouTube now. It's on Facebook, my Facebook page now. So it's available. I'll share it when it comes out. And then besides that, we're going to have a killer week. We have this week. And then we have next week is Christmas, right? And next Saturday. That's awesome. I love Christmas. Who doesn't? It'll be great. And you know what? Just stay on top of it. Stay gritty. Stay hard. Work hard, get your shit done. Find what is most important to you, and be disciplined enough to stick to it. Stick to it. Be disciplined enough to meet your goals and to meet yourself where you need to be. And if your biggest goal is to be the best dad or husband possible, that is your #1 priority. And you forfeit fun things like video games to be the best dad or husband possible. And if your biggest goal is to be a super athlete or to be the world's best hunter or jiu-jitsu guy or Marine or Navy SEAL or whatever it is, then you dedicate your time, your priorities to that. What was one of the chapter titles? It was prioritize and what? Prioritize and execute. Evaluate your highest priority. Lay out clearly and concisely the highest priority effort. Develop and determine your solution. Direct the execution of that solution towards that priority task, and then move on to the next priority. There you go. That's where we're ending it. Go do something hard this week. Stick to your discipline, and we'll see you next week. Adios, amigos.
したいとで読み直しているで読み直しているだけがで読み直しているで読み直している